In this video, I'm going to show you some tips you can do to work with your patients when you have limited supplies to work on balance. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use one of these balance cushions. So I'm going to put this down on the floor here, put it right in front of my chair. And so what you do is you can start very simply having your patient, you're sitting in a chair, got this cushion under there, you work on leaning over, having them stand up, and then come right back down, right? Just like we traditionally have our patients go from sitting to standing. This is more difficult standing on one of these balance cushions, so make sure you're holding on to your patient. And then to make this even more difficult, we can offset this. So let's put this under just one foot on one side and then have the patient do the same thing. That is definitely going to challenge the balance once they come to standing position. And you say, well, what does that really have to do functionally? When patients stand up, when we stand up, sometimes our balance is off or we get a little bit out of sorts, and so that will prepare the patient in a lot of cases to have the balance already kind of thrown off some, so they have to correct themselves immediately upon coming to standing. I just have my patients repeat that for maybe 2 or 3 sets, 10 repetitions, 12 repetitions, just depends on how they feel. This is a patient that has a lot of arthritis, a lot of knee pain or even hip pain. Of course, the repetitions would be less. I would start with less and then work up to more, but I really like this movement. I think it's very beneficial, especially in that initial coming from sitting to standing or standing to sitting. Next, you're going to have your patient stand on the balance cushion. They're going to hold on to the back of a chair or whatever surface they feel comfortable that's nice and stable. And they're going to hold on there, and they're going to have both feet on the balance cushion. The first thing I have them do is to just close their eyes. We're going to stand here, let them hold on, and they're going to close their eyes, and maybe I count to 30 or 60 seconds. Repeat that a few times. Then we're going to have them, while they're holding on, look up and look down as far as they can. Maybe I have that done for 10, 15 repetitions for a couple of sets, and then also have them turn, look to the left and to the right while they're holding on. You can vary the speed of their head movement. Sometimes if you go too fast, that can make them very dizzy. You don't want them to, to fall out on you. And so with that, just make sure that you go slow initially. And to even advance that more, I combine both. So I would have the patient move their head while holding on, standing on the balance cushion with their eyes closed. So that's even more challenging. And the most advanced version of that would be to go through all those movements with the eyes closed, with their hands down by their side. Now, again, you're going to want to hold on to them for safety purposes, but that's a really great way to train the balance, and it's even difficult if you don't have balance issues to do that for yourself. You find that very difficult to do. I just repeat that for a couple of sets, a few reps, each session. Now, I'm still staying on the balance cushion. I'm going to hold on the back of the chair, and with this, I'm going to have my patients go down in just a little squat, just a mini squat, and hold on. And we'll repeat this for maybe 2 sets or 3 sets of 10 or 12 repetitions. And then I'm going to have the patient, again, while they're holding on, still on the balance cushion, kick their leg out to the side, do a little hip abduction, and then we'll go the other way. And then I had them kick straight back behind them, keeping the knee straight. So what that looks like from the side is just kicking straight back just as far as they can while they're holding on. This works really well also if you don't have a lot of cuff weights or leg weights or bands. All you have to have is this balance cushion, a stable place for them to hold on to, and just give them the cues and let them kind of go through the movements. But again, I would repeat each one of those movements, maybe 1 to 3 sets, 10 to 12 repetitions, again, just depending on how the patient feels with their pain, and then also how much time you have to incorporate that into your full session. Now I'm still using that same square balance cushion, and now I'm going to add in a piece of PVC pipe, pretty inexpensive, and then these cones. I think between the cones, the balance cushion, and this piece of pipe that I got from the hardware store, I may have $35 invested in everything that I'm using in this video. And so what I'm going to do is I call out maybe a color. If there are multiple colors here, I'm only using 2 colors, but I'm going to say, maybe yellow, orange, and if there's a blue behind me, I may call out blue. And I'll just call out a color, and the patient will have to step towards that cone. If you only have 2 cones, that's fine. As long as they're different colors, you can say orange, and then maybe this one is yellow. And then maybe I go yellow again. If it is yellow, I realize it's orange, but you can just do that. This gives a little bit of extra confidence and stability, and eventually you can work on getting rid of the piece of pipe and just going with no pipe. Again, make sure you stay close to your patient. You don't want them to fall, but this is a really simple exercise that you can do with your patients, calling out the color. And then you can even add another step to that. If you have dumbbells and things, you can have them do different upper body exercises while they're going through these movements. Again, that just makes it a little more difficult. But I like this technique. Inexpensive for all the supplies, and something that you can do with your patients right in their home. The last 2 movements, we're going to use the cones to either go in tandem walking forwards or backwards, as well as sidestepping. So I have an orange cone in the front and I have the yellow cone behind. I'm going to start at the front and maybe I just start going heel to toe as best they can. If they have range of motion limitations or their balance is so poor that they can't do that movement, you can use that same piece of PVC pipe that I had before. If they use a rolling walker, you can use a rolling walker, cane, whatever they need to stabilize themselves with. But I go all the way back, and then I'm going to go back forwards. You can start forwards first, backwards first, whichever you feel most comfortable with. And I'd repeat that for maybe I do 5 passes each direction or 3 passes each direction, just depending on how the patient feels, giving them cues on their balance and posture throughout the movement. Our last movement using the cones, we're going to work on sidestepping. So I just have the patient sidestep towards each cone, and then we go back the other way. A tip with this is to not let your patients turn their feet towards the direction they're going. I like to keep my patients with their feet straight forwards the entire time. If they have a walker, they can use the walker in front and move that. That's fine, or a cane, whichever. Again, just make sure you hold on to them, because their balance obviously is going to be compromised. Otherwise, you would not be performing these movements. So I do like to use this. Again, just a couple of cones, something nice and simple. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this video helps give you a few ideas that you can work on balance with your patients, either in their home or in a facility or even in an outpatient clinic. Just a few tips, very limited supplies. I hope it helps. Thanks so much.